Chapter 8. They climbed higher and higher until the ground below was infinitesimally small. It was like being in an airplane. The air felt the same, regardless of the heights they reached. Jade noticed that this world wasn't the same as hers. It didn't pan out and curve correctly. Something about it wasn't right. She figured it was because all of this was made up. They were in someone's imagination, in someone's head. Contents below seemed to shift, and undulate and mutate, occasionally appearing from nothing as if she was running too fast, and a computer game in the background pixels hadn't caught up yet. They just emerged from darkness.
Do you know his real name?
She tied her hair back and quickly resumed her grip around Traveler.
Only from legend,
he replied. She waited a beat as he gathered his thoughts.
No one remembers his real name. BTW. He ran around a lot with another Time Lord, known as the Doctor, a renegade. He was the Doctor's bodyguard. For lack of a better term, he was known as the Shadow Hunter during his first 12 lives. During his final incarnation,
Traveler trailed off, remembering. Hoping to restart the explanation, Jade asked,
Did you ever meet him?
Gods no. Way before my time. In his life, he went insane. Indeed, his entire personality was completely different. Various High Lords pretty much figured he suffered a schizoid embolism due to the failed regeneration. He went by the name Chance. The Doctor was trapped here, in a land of fiction, during his 8th life. I think something like that. Chance tried to kill him, but the Doctor, from what I've read, is a clever fellow. If a bit unorthodox, the Doctor trapped him here.
Jade nodded.
How long ago was that?
Traveler squinted.
Hard to say. Time here is different. In the White Void, in the anti-universe, from where I was on Gallifrey.
Gallifrey?
Oh, yeah. That's the name of my planet. I told you that.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did. I remember. I've impeccable memory.
Traveler swept something off his shoulder. Jade sighed.
No, you did not.
Traveler opened his mouth, but was interrupted. She shook her head.
I don't want to argue. Just finish the story.
He cocked his head to one side.
My guess would be a few thousand years. Maybe more. Who knows?
Jade's eyes narrowed.
He's a few thousand years old?
Oh, easily.
Traveler nodded.
A Time Lord can live a very long time. The maximum lifespan of the average Time Lord is 10,000 years.
Damn.
Damn indeed. Now, realistically, a Time Lord that is out in the universe, doing things, putting himself in danger or whatnot, will probably only have a lifespan of about half that. But still.
Still a long time.
Jade concluded. Traveler shrugged.
What?
She asked. She could tell Traveler was smiling, even without seeing his face.
Some Time Lords they get to be around a lot longer.
Really?
Oh, yes.
He sounded proud.
One of our kind, Patience, a Time Lady hybrid, supposedly lived to be over 2 million.
Jade shook her head, almost looking unimpressed.
That is way too old.
I wouldn't want that much time.
Traveler agreed.
I don't think anyone needs that much time.
A moment passed, and then Traveler offered.
For most of their existence, the High Lords liked to think they were better than the rest of existence. Exalted, elite, superior, I suppose. Yet, really, all they accomplished was the ability to live a very long time and watch the rest of the universe move on without them being part of it.
Sounds lonely.
Could be.
Traveler speculated.
Rassilon, Omega, the other. These were the big three, like the Time Lord Holy Trinity. Except they figured it out.
Figured out what?
She adjusted herself.
Immortality,
Came the reply. The stranger in white suddenly seemed quite tired.
They actually conjured time. In the literal sense, occasionally they would fight with their own kind. Time Lords occasionally even lost. But they came back every time. They can always come back. That's the spooky thing about a very old, very powerful Time Lord. You really can never, ever really win against one.
Jade rested her chin on his shoulder.
Sounds scary.
No.
Traveler shook his head.
Honestly, if you really think about it, it's terrifying.
Cornelius, the powerful and majestic golden dragon, edged ever closer to the Emerald City. Not a city-colored emerald, Jade noted. The actual Wizard of Oz, Emerald freaking City. She blew out her cheeks, closed her eyes for a second, and placed her forehead on Traveler's shoulder. Jade simply accepted it. Traveler said,
Ha, right.
Sure, why not?
She said as she looked up. Traveler ignored her. Cornelius's enormous mythical wings echoed in the wizard's palace as they touched down. Jade was impressed at the imaginative attempt to make that old movie a reality. It was all shiny and emerald, and reflective green in the color jade itself all over. A mass of midgets, all multicolored and garish, trundled and waddled their disgusting little ways up to the golden dragon and his occupants. Traveler slid off effortlessly, feet slapping on the shiny metal floor. He offered his hand to Jade. She ignored him, dismounted.
Welcome!
Greeted a highly dressed munchkin with a decorated scepter.
Nope.
Traveler shook his head, slapping the munchkin mare in the face and stealing his green wand.
Opposite of welcome, we're actually on our way out.
The munchkins? Well, they were pissed. Royally pissed. Jade's cheeks turned red at some of the horrifying things these tiny palace guards called the time traveler in white.
What is a monkey fucking shunt?
The stranger in white asked. He continued down an elaborate corridor, twirling the stolen scepter in his fingers. He started whistling. We're off to see the wizard. Jade opened her compact and put on some lipstick. She heard Traveler yell after her in the distance. Smiling, she ran after him. As she landed in pace with him, she casually glanced over and asked,
So what's with the weird-ass, freaky, fake, real lollipop kids?
Did she ever think she would ask a century-old time traveler this question? No. He handed her the stolen green royal mace and started taking off his coat, handing her that as well. Jade reluctantly obliged with this sudden luggage.
Thanks.
Traveler stopped at a towering royal chamber entrance. It was inlaid with complex metal designs and a figure eight, and the massive pair of stone doors almost appeared impenetrable. He took off his tie and handed it to Jade.
Well, what the...
This will most likely suck badly.
Traveler put his head very low, looking right up at her. Eyes very dark. Tired. Or perhaps something else. He rolled up his sleeves as he cleared his throat.
I apologize ahead of time.
Jade's eyebrows met. Traveler pointed at her.
I have to be fast. For our sakes, stay close. Do not talk. Do not look into his eyes.
Okay. All right.
She muttered, starting to get a bit nervous. He popped his neck, side to side, took a deep breath, exhaled quickly, put his hands on her shoulders.
I hate it when you do that.
Jade shook her head. Traveler nodded, keeping his hands firm and saying one last thing.
When I say run, run.
Before she had a chance to reply, Traveler spun around and kicked the entire door down, frame and all. Giant, foot-thick granite and marble royal chamber door went crashing. The stranger in white stormed in, his watch becoming a long single stream of electrical blue, a laser sword. Jade gasped. She ran in. There was a strange-looking man seated on the throne in the center of the royal chamber. She was cognizant of his chest, actually taking some advice and not looking this master or chance or shadow hunter or whatever traveler wanted to call him in the eyes. Jade was perceptive enough to know that this guy looked very old, sickly, pale, kind of zombie-ish. There were cobwebs and dust, just everywhere. The prisoner in the throne was desiccated. Although hooked up to strange electrical devices, those, too, just seemed so old. This entire place was some kind of futuristic, high-tech royal tomb, the complete opposite of the rest of the world. Like if Purge were left to rot for hundreds of thousands of years. Oh my God! But before Jade could complete her thought, the traveler was instantly upon the master of the land of fiction, tearing away ancient wires and other technologies. The shivering old prisoner peered up at his final reckoning.
You found me,
he hissed.
Yeah, I did.
Traveler dismissively quipped. He furiously pulled old cords.
I'd have thought it impossible. You converted one of my creatures.
The ancient Time Lord growled. He was indignant until the end. Traveler nodded impatiently.
This place is run by will. Yours is failing, and I need what's in your head to get home. Atron energy.
His tired old frame shook, a sad imitation of a laugh.
You're not even a Time Lord. Vanquished by lesser beings.
He wheezed.
What do you do as an encore to humiliate me?
For a full minute, the traveler stopped and paused. He was staring at an old fob watch hanging from the dying Time Lord's neck. His eyes were very focused on the antique. Concentrating, he reached for it, snatching it off greedily.
I win,
he said. Then he cut off the master of the land of fiction's head. With a single slice of his blue laser sword emitted from the stranger in white's trusty wristwatch, the head sailed in the air for the briefest second. Then the traveler caught it by its long, ancient white hair. Jade gasped.
Whoa!
Coat! Traveler barked. She handed it to him. He wrapped the head, started running, fast, faster.
Let's go!
He shouted. She took off her shoes, running after him. Quick as she could, good thing, too. That's when Jade felt the earthquake begin. Oh, not good. Miraculously, they made it back to the midget headquarters, yet she wasn't surprised to see that they were gone. She had figured out they were constructs, imagined projections. Indeed, the green scepter vanished from her hands. Now that there wasn't anyone to imagine them, she suddenly panicked. The dragon? What was its name?
Cornelius!
Traveler shouted at the golden beast.
Back to where we started. Now.
It shrieked. Still sounded irritated. Traveler slung himself aboard, grabbed Jade, and they were off. The violent shaking continued as the place collapsed in on itself. All the colors were draining out of existence itself around her, everything darkening, abysmal. The dragon roared angrily as it fought for the air and height, narrowly missing a huge boulder. Damn it! Cornelius banked violently to the right. In the far horizon, entire mountain landscapes were falling down. Jade was gasping. She couldn't catch her breath. Head was swimming. Cornelius slammed to the left. She grabbed onto the stranger in white for dear life. Traveler held on to her tightly, knuckles turning as white as his uniform. The mighty, majestic golden dragon Cornelius touched down at Purge's crash site. She actually looked slightly less damaged, less cracked. Traveler yanked Jade off the dragon and ran inside. She followed. He fumbled with the disembodied head of the prisoner, placed it on the partially destroyed control console. Even inside Purge, Jade could feel the awful and increasing rumble as a white void began to collapse. This anti-universe was, very rapidly, ceasing to exist.
Come on, dude!
She yelled, frightened.
This is some serious bullshit!
I'm working on it.
He had cut the top of the skull off, revealing a brain.
I have to.
She didn't look and didn't care. as long as this pasty, skinny weirdo in white got them the hell out of here. Jade heard Cornelius outside, roaring painfully. Why did he still exist? Without looking, the traveler shot a quick beam of bright azure outside.
Come on, boy!
In came Cornelius the golden dragon, trotting. He was about the size of a St. Bernard. What the fu—
Vitalizing systems.
Purge boomed from overhead. The entire inside of the bridge lit up, bright white and warm and welcoming. Jade felt her lungs expand. She suddenly felt calm, relaxed. The shaking stopped. Jade did a full 360 as she spun around, watching the chrome and silver and shiny home away from home become awake, alive again. Every piece of shrapnel found its way back to its original place. Cracks in the wall sealed themselves. Dust flew from the ground back up to the ceiling, along with pieces and chunks of the ceiling itself. Purge was restoring, and she was looking good. Great. Happy.
Power levels at 23%. Rising. 34%. Rising.
The time machine announced in her peculiar echo voice. Jade sat down and let herself completely relax. Her entire body slumped. Head hanging forward, shoulders down. She dropped her shoes and sighed. Cornelius came and sat beside her, nudging her softly. She placed one hand on the dragon's head. Not even a complete rub. That's all the energy she could afford.
Wow!
Traveler clapped his hands together.
Hell of a day, huh? We're on our way out of the void convex and heading through to—
That's great.
Jade interrupted and stood, head still hanging. She wandered toward the lectern and snapped her finger. A mirror emerged from the marble slab and she grabbed it, throwing it at the wall. Her bedroom appeared beyond the instant entrance. She crossed the threshold, throwing her shoes on the floor.
So you should probably eat.
Traveler was calling after her.
And one of those closets should be a food dispenser. Just program the—
I'll figure it out, dude. See you in 12 hours.
Jade slammed the door.
System.
The stranger in white finished. He shrugged. Traveler glanced over to see the golden dragon called Cornelius, sitting in a chair with his arms crossed, looking at him.
What the hell are you staring at?